Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is April the 23rd, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Thursday, everyone. Hopefully the day treated you well, treated you right. For me, it was a good day. We're calling it a good day. I will say I struggled to get up this morning for no particular reason. I just really didn't want to get out of bed. I really didn't want to go to work. I just wanted to hang out in the house and then just go back to sleep. But I didn't do that. Got to work a little bit late, a few minutes, but we got to work. Boy, howdy did we get to work. So I get in, there was a decent amount of work, and I also noticed that even though the crusher wasn't full, it clearly had some leftovers in there from last night. It hadn't been changed out. I could tell that much. So I go upstairs to get my walkie-talkie. I relay as much to my lead. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing my due diligence here, and we're just going to go about the day as it plays out. Overall, the crusher was fine. It was a little bit slower at the top of the day, but I want to say maybe around 2 hours into my shift, they do come, they're swapping it out. I let my lead, once again, know. Okay, I'm thinking that, everything is solid, everything is fine here. I will say something that has taken place that I think is also playing a factor here for the day, how things kind of, matriculate, whatever. One of the reach truck operators who, moves the cardboard buggies, the empty ones to upstairs and then also the full ones down to me, yada, yada, yada. One of those guys is going to be out for like 3 months. I don't know why. Whatever. I think that also has been making the day a bit weird in terms of like the work trickles in and out just differently. This whole swap out situation, so the work's a little bit backed up, not much, but a little bit. This all winds up playing a factor where I'm starting to realize, like, why are they on the walkies? Like, I can hear it. Like, it's essentially like, hey, I need a couple buggies. Oh, we don't have them. And I'm looking at a free buggy right now. Like, I know we have them, but okay, whatever. I'm not going to make a wave about it. But then my supervisor hits me up and asks me directly. So I tell them, like, yeah, we have an empty buggy. We have this many right now. And I can tell by the tenor of the voice, they're a little concerned. And I'm like, there's nothing to be concerned about, but whatever, fine. The day's overall okay, but I proceeded to get visited by my lead. They came downstairs. By the way, the lead that I talked to and told the entire situation to dictated it on the walkie. So you know what's up. Why are you checking on me? Nothing to really report, because at that point I got a handle on it. Like, not that there was really any loss of control, but they came down and saw that there was 3 or 4 buggies and me on my phone. So it's like, damn it, you did see me on my phone, but there's nothing to really crow about or worry about. And they're like, everything good? I'm like, everything's good. My person who comes down and helps out also came through, so we busted it down. Like, we are completely caught up. Like, we're good. Then the other lead comes down. I'm used to that happening. Like, the second shift lead, they usually just kind of come in to make sure. I'm like, cool, thumbs up, awesome. Before the day is over, though, my supervisor comes and does a physical check-in on me. And, of course, catches me on my fucking phone. So I'm like, great, whatever. I'm literally trying to send my girlfriend this cute thing. And luckily, they see that there's no work to worry about. So they're not complaining. But I'm like, once again, why are you watching me? Like, why? That's so unnecessary, especially when the job is getting done. It's like they had a potential worry about it at the top of the day, and they just never let it go. I don't know. That's my assumption. Whatever. But needless to say, it doesn't really matter. The work was fine. It was a good day, W day. And I get out of there. I go to the gym. Now, I'm hoping that this was going to be, a lighter day in terms of like people, showing up, whatever. But it turns out that there was enough people there. Like, the parking lot was empty, and I was like, ooh, it's gonna be nice. And I get in there, and I'm like, I can't even get on a Smith machine. I'm like, whatever, fine. But overall, the workout was solid. We'll call it a good workout. I will say, I had this funny interaction actually over the past 48 hours. at least 3 people at the gym have commented on my piercings, and I've gotten to a random conversation about them, which is fine. There's no beef here. There's no problem with that. I just think it's just weird because this is something that's always on my face all the time, and I do the same things all the time. So like whenever like someone stops me, like, oh, okay, it's like a one-off, but in the same place 3 times in 2 days, it's just like it gives me this like weird, like, am I on the Truman Show vibes? Like, what the helly? Like, oh, okay, yeah, blah blah blah. Once again, I have no problems talking about my piercings. It's a neat little talking point. It's just they're always on my face, so I don't really think twice about it, especially these days. Like someone had asked me, like, how long have you had them? And I'm like, oh shit, I literally just made up a number because I just off the top of my head I just couldn't think of it. Like I think I've literally had these for over a decade, all the shit in my face, in my ears. So, I'm just so used to it. I'm not used to, asking or answering those little, specific questions anymore. I don't know. I'm an old head to this shit. But, needless to say, nice little small talk at the gym. That's always neat and nice. We love to see it. But yeah, after the gym, I stopped by Scooter's Coffee and used my little gift card, and I got myself a Caramelicious. This time iced. I can definitely see I'm changing. I'm switching it up. Also, I realized too that they give you different cups to compensate for the ice. And I'm going to put that in quotations because, like, yeah, they give you more, like, they're giving you more room for the ice, so technically you're netting neutral. I still have my conspiracy theories. I still have my thoughts and doubts, and I'm allowed to have them. But that being said, maybe it's just nice to have an iced coffee on a hot day. You know what I mean? I'll concede that point. Maybe it's just yummy, and you should have that treat that way. And I'm like, okay, let's go. So, I mean, I had the Caramelicious, which I've had before. I will say I still prefer that hot as opposed to the cold, but it was a nice little treat. That being said, by the time I sipped it all down, got home, stretched, did my research, I had to take like an extra 10 minutes because it gave me like dark zoomies or something. I don't know. My constitution was all fucked up. Like, I just did not feel well. I was like, I don't feel good at all. I need to take like 10, and, here we are where we are, but everything's good. I'm ready to yap it up about some news. So yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into it. Hell yeah. We'll say this is a wine episode. I'm excited. I feel like we haven't had a little wine moment for a while. And I will say, I mean, it lines up. I finished Hemingway. What is it? The Sun Also Rises a couple weeks ago. I left a review about it on my Patreon thing, for the newsies. I will say, yes, we are reading a new book. That's what that means. Memory Police. I've been on that for a little bit now. I'm kind of slow playing it, but it's a good book. I like it. It's interesting. I kind of want to spoil it, like, because I'm just like, ooh, the tension. I want to know. This is actually a Zoe recommended book, so I'm very excited. I'm glad I like it. But yeah, that's the new book. But anyway, I'm in a wine mode. I've been waiting wine for a while, so I'm glad I got it. This is something, it's like some kind of red blend. I don't know. I think it had gather. That was a word that was on the bottle. And then I noticed that there were some threes. So there's that. Hold on one second. Having some technical difficulties. Ooh, good save. I closed out on my tab. Red wine. Okay. All right. Let's get into some news. Ooh, from NBC News. Iran seizes ships after Trump extends ceasefire. Iran attacked 3 ships in the Strait of Hormuz this morning, saying its Revolutionary Guard seized 2 of them and further inflaming tensions over the key waterway. It comes after U.S. forces seized an Iranian ship and boarded a tanker linked to Tehran's oil trade. The ceasefire has been extended. It's essentially indefinitely. But I mean, that is kind of at the whims of Donald Trump. So, I mean, we'll see how long that lasts and if it lasts at all. They do have a death toll. Here's someone to read that. Iran's forensics chief said nearly 3,400 people had been killed in the country since U.S.-Israeli strikes began on February 28th. More than 2,200 people have been killed in Lebanon. 32 have been killed in Gulf states, and 23 have been killed in Israel. 13 U.S. service members have been killed, and 2 more died of non-combat causes. So, bit of a update there. Also, a Navy secretary was fired. So I want to get into that for the next bit. Also from NBC News. Navy Secretary John Phelan fired from administration amid Iran war. Navy Secretary John Phelan will leave the Trump administration effective immediately, the Pentagon announced Wednesday, marking the latest departure of a top defense official this year. Let's see. The abrupt firing by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth came after mounting tensions between Phelan and Hegseth and the Pentagon's number 2, Stephen Feinberg, according to multiple officials and others familiar with the relationship. There were a number of issues between the men, but the speed and approach Phelan was taking when it came to shipbuilding, a challenge in which President Trump has taken personal interest, appears to have been the main reason for the firing, multiple people said. They clashed not only on shipbuilding, but also the Golden Fleet, Trump's signature naval initiative, as well as the deployment of ships around the world. Feinberg had wrested some decision-making on shipbuilding away from Phelan, according to 2 officials familiar with the matter. There's a little bit of yada, yada, yada here, blah, blah, blah here. This doesn't seem to be related, though, to the Iran war itself, only that these guys were at loggerheads. And, like, normally in these situations, I almost want to say, well, I mean, hey, it seems like it's a shame that this guy, you're cutting some guy who has some kind of military experience, know-how, knack, and, you know, just saying, oh, you're not fit for purpose anymore because you're not going along with the get-along here. But that's not actually the case for Phelan. This guy was essentially, I think, a dude in finance, and he donated so fucking hard to Donald Trump that he got a job, which is not a new thing. It's not like, that's not special for this administration or anything like that. But it's like, oh, so these are just 2 fucking goobers. And essentially, yeah, they just didn't get along here, and you wanted to roll ahead, and you wanted to just kind of, you know, get some new guy in here, new flesh, if you will. Also, I can't remember who the guy is they're replacing. I don't think I said it. Let's see. Navy Secretary will be Undersecretary Hung Cao. If I'm getting that name correctly, just for the transition. But yeah. So there's a little bit of administration shakeup news, a little bit of Iran war update. Also, this is a bit of breaking news. I did read this headline before I got on, and this is Trump saying this, so you don't know it's gospel. It's not inked out or anything like that. But Israel and Lebanon have extended their ceasefire potentially. I don't know how long there. I think that's something I do want to maybe touch more on in another episode because there's definitely some more news out of Lebanon that I'd really like to kind of talk about, highlight. But I don't have the time for this episode. It's pretty action-packed. But anyway, a lot of news this week. But let's move on. I'm finally getting a moment to not just talk about Kalshi, but also Polymarket, like in the news. So I'm chomping at the bit to talk about it. So let's talk about it. And also, we got Kalshi, we got Polymarket, we got politics, we got war. It's all just so connected. So I'm like, yeah, we're talking about it. Once again, this is a hat trick. This is a little news hat trick for us right now. NBC News, yet again. This is just the source right now. I'm plugged in with them right now. Not sponsored. Never sponsored. Never sponsored by the lamestream media. Could never. Anyway, I would actually. Anyway, sorry, I'm blushing at the thought of getting paid out. Let's see. Kalshi fines and suspends 3 politicians for insider trading on their own races. Speaking of getting fucking paid out. Gamble on yourself, baby. The old Pete Rose method. Prediction market Kalshi said Wednesday that it had fined and suspended 3 political candidates for trading on their own races during primary campaigns. Just like traditional financial markets, bad actors will try to cheat, Kalshi said in a statement. These three cases are an example of how developing proactive engineering solutions can help identify illicit trading activity. I feel like you gotta say that like with like the glasses and like finger up emoji. So fucking nerdy. Like, okay, dude, knowing good and damn well you are doing some fucking dark, seedy shit on these fucking apps. Period. We're doing the best to regulate it. Sure you are. Okay. As you just rake in all this money on people living and dying. Kalshi described the actions taken by the politicians as political insider trading, which I would agree. Let's see. The fines range from $539 to more than $6,200, while the suspensions from Kalshi are set to last 5 years. The candidates include Matt Klein, who is running in the Democratic primary from Minnesota, Minnesota's 2nd congressional district, Ezekiel Enriquez, who ran in the Republican primary for Texas's 21st congressional district, and Mark Moran, who is running in the Democratic primary for a U.S. Senate seat in Virginia. Moran told NBC News he purposely placed the bet, explaining in an interview, "Absolutely, I did this $100 bet." I don't think they add the word bet here. They put it in little brackets or whatever. Because I think that's important that they added that and he didn't say that, because I think it makes it worse. But I don't know. I'm just a fucking idiot in an armchair. I have no intention of doing this further. This is simply to call attention to the fact that an entire election can be bought. Dude, I don't know. I don't think so. I think you were trying it out. I think you were dipping a toe in the fucking water. I hate this. There's something about this that is very cringe, to get caught with your hand in the cookie jar about this and say, well, it's such a paltry amount. Obviously, I was doing this as a symbolic gesture. Shut the fuck up. This ain't no cherry tree to chop down, motherfucker. You are gambling. You got caught gambling. Like, as far as I'm concerned, you did something illegal here. I'm not for this, but like, I don't know. That's my 2 cents. There's also more here. Let's keep reading. Meanwhile, Klein said he was curious about how prediction markets work and did not realize he was violating any rule at the time. And I love this goofy ass fucking idea. I set up an account and bet $50 of my own funds that I would win the primary, he wrote in a statement on X. I was informed in March of 2026 that this was a violation of the platform rules. In compliance with their request, I paid a penalty and agreed to be suspended from the platform. That was the only wager I ever made on a predictions market. This was a mistake and I apologize. Like, kicks the fucking floor like, man, I just didn't know. I'm just an idiot. I didn't really read the rules. Oops. Like, once again, it is seeing if you can get away with it. And then, and especially for the guy who's like making this like political gesture, would you have kept betting until you got caught just to make the point even bigger and more symbolic? Like, I just don't believe you. In these trying times, I cannot believe you, Mr. Politician. Enriquez finished in 11th place in the March Republican primary when Trump endorsed Mark Teixeira. I'm going to say it's Teixeira, whatever, ran away with a nomination. In Virginia, Moran dropped his Democratic primary campaign against Senator Mark Warner and is instead running as an independent. Minnesota's primary is not until August, when Democratic voters will pick from a number of candidates vying to succeed Representative Angie Craig, who left her seat open to run for Senate. Klein is part of a crowded field that includes several other state legislators. Kalshi said that 2 of these cases were settlements, but 1 was a disciplinary action. The disciplinary action was taken against Moran. Kalshi said the candidate acknowledged that these trades were improper and in violation of the Kalshi exchange rules, but repeatedly refused to resolve this matter via settlement and stopped responding to further correspondence. Moran's fine was $6,229.30. I love that. He's like, you know what, fuck off. Stop responding. That's kind of base. Honestly, fuck this guy. But this isn't the only situation. I think this is just the highlighted beginning, a tip of the spear, if you will. In February, the prediction site said it opened 200 investigations and froze a number of flagged accounts, specifically over insider trading concerns. In other cases, 2 Kalshi users were removed from the platform. And you could argue that this is Kalshi saying, hey, put one in the books. We're actually policing this shit very well. We are on it. We have the software and the technology to make sure that these bets are going to go on without a hitch and that you can bet on this or whatever you want to call it, what they're doing on here, making exchanges safe and it's protected. Fuck off, man. And not to mention, this is some macabre ass fucking shit when you're looking at the things that we are betting on. Like, these are real life things and you're putting stakes to them. And saying, hey, this is all in the exchange. It makes things kind of a little bit more legitimate. You can actually get a real readout on these things. It's better than a poll. A lot of things are better than a goddamn poll, man. What the fuck? These are dark times, but this is only half the story. Like I said, we had one thing on Kalshi. We have another thing on Polymarket. So this is nice. It's also nice, too, to kind of talk about, good old Maduro again. Maduro. Not that I'm a fan. Let me take a water break, and we actually are going to talk about something at ABC News. Like I said, hit the other app. Oh. All right. DOJ arrests soldier who made $400,000 betting on Maduro's removal. Federal authorities arrested a special operations soldier who was involved in the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro for allegedly pocketing more than $400,000 by betting on his removal from office, the Justice Department announced Thursday. Federal investigators said Gannon Ken Van Dyke, which is a hell of a name, by the way, bet more than $33,000 on the prediction market Polymarket just days before President Donald Trump. The series of bets, which netted more than $409,000, immediately prompted scrutiny within the world of prediction markets and resulted in a months-long investigation about whether inside information was used to place the bets. Now, I don't recall if I mentioned this shit directly on the podcast or not, but this is one of the big stories that had kind of, came up. People were talking about it, yapping about it. And I'm like, dude, yeah, this is fucking terrible. You shouldn't be allowed to do this. Like, clearly people are going to take advantage of this. Clearly people are already at it, and I think it's a thing that goes all the way to the fucking top. You know what I mean? You don't have to read into that too much to know what I'm getting at with that. But anyway, let's see. Van Dyke was indicted on charges that included unlawful use of confidential information for personal gain, theft of non-public government information, commodities fraud, and wire fraud. When, after placing the bets, he saw reports about unusual trading associated with the mission, Van Dyke allegedly tried to hide the evidence of the trades by attempting to delete his Polymarket account and change the email address registered to his cryptocurrency exchange account, according to the indictment. Excuse me. Now, we don't know if he has legal representation as of yet, but days before President Trump announced that Maduro was captured during Operation Absolute Resolve, actually maybe one of the more better names, better than Epic fucking Fury, Van Dyke placed a series of bets on Polymarket, including whether Maduro would be removed from office by January 31st, and if the U.S. would invade Venezuela, according to officials. Let's see here. While the indictment does not go into detail about Van Dyke's involvement in the raid, prosecutors noted that he was photographed on the deck of the USS Iwo Jima, the ship Maduro was moved to following his capture, wearing military fatigues and holding a rifle alongside other service members. So, I mean, they're really singling him out there. According to Polymarket, a trader who created an account in December of 2025 bet $33,933 across four predictions related to the U.S. invasion of Venezuela and the capture of Maduro. The largest position, $32,537,000. I know I'm really great at reading numbers. Bet that Maduro would be out of office by January 31st, resulted in a 1,242% profit of $404,222. And I love this too, because at the end of the day, people try to be slick about this. They try to move in silence about this, but just going against the casino, just going against DraftKings, you think you're slick. This is highly monitored. Like, people are peeping this shit constantly. It's not just the goobers who are like, oh, I got scammed. Also, not to mention, too, I think especially this is with Polymarket, when these things kind of happen and people land these big bets or like these crazy outcomes happen, all of a sudden, Polymarket gets a little particular about, oh, the wording here. And it's like, well, did that really happen? Or like, was this actually not a missile? Was this actually not a boundary? Was this actually not a thing? They get really litigious, if you will. And they potentially don't pay out. So these are all fears and things like that you wind up landing on with this kind of thing. Which I'm looking forward to the legal Pandora's box that we are going to be opening and getting into, which I'm sure will go all the way to the Supreme Court at some point. But that being said, yeah, this guy tried to make a little slick move, and he thought he was going to get away with it, and then he didn't. And then he's like, oh, shit. And then he tried to be like, oh, I'm going to hide on my shit. And once again, I'm sure you're thinking, well, all this went to a little crypto wallet. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be safe. Brother, they can track everything up until that point, so how are you safe? Oh, they can't get the money? Oh, they can get you. Guess what? They'll get the money. One way or another, brother. So yeah, these are two interesting stories, and I'm glad that this shit is finally making the news. This shit is weird. It is awkward. It makes things feel so much more dystopian to me that it exists. That being said, it is interesting. It is interesting to see the bets and things that people can lay out and play out. But yeah, I think the fix is in. I think you should assume that on any one of these fucking bets. I think especially when it's politics. For sure, for sure. We have a president who is not afraid to fucking put his finger on a scale. That's for sure. That's part of his little art of the deal. And he's got little family members who are also involved in this shit at the very top of the shit. Either Polymarket or Kalshi. I can't remember which one. But they are definitely involved in it. Like, they are making a profit one way or another. They are seeing some fucking paper. So, but that's not surprising in no way, shape, or form. But anyway, I mean, I this failed submission, but we are in the Trump verse. So let's continue. Let's sally forth. There's more news. But this is technically good news in a way, actually, so good. We'll actually do our little bit of last break about it. In celebration. I don't know why I put that accent. Bad. That was not a good accent. Anyway, last break time. And I should put celebration in quotations. Ooh. Oh, boy. Ooh. Okay. Once again, from NBC News. Trump administration moves to ease restrictions on medical marijuana. The Justice Department on Thursday announced that it was moving to ease restrictions on state-licensed medical marijuana, opening the door for more research and treatment options. Acting Attorney General, let me put a whole respect on this motherfucker name. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said in a post to X that he had signed an executive order to immediately reschedule FDA-approved let me read that properly. FDA-approved marijuana and state-licensed marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 and ordered an expedited hearing to fully reschedule the drug. So the last part is like the best part, in my opinion. It's cool, though, that this is happening. I think this is more or less the thing that kind of happened with the Biden administration, but it was like way more like of a teeth pull. But, there was a little bit of strides here and there. Cool to see that even in this administration. Let me just kind of skip ahead here a little bit. Blanche said that the FDA-approved marijuana and state-licensed marijuana would now be classified as Schedule 3, which is defined as drugs with moderate to low potential for physical and psychological dependence, which I would agree with. Let's see here. I kind of want to get to this guy's name, and then we can kind of move on to the very last thing, actually. White House spokesperson Kush Desai said in a statement Thursday that the Justice Department's move is a welcome step to increase critical research into possible medical applications of cannabis, which I think is very cool, and I think this guy's name is very cool for the moment. Hell yeah. in essential, like, this is good. It's an easing of tensions over the topic that is marijuana. It's still annoying that obviously marijuana in general, recreational marijuana, is still considered a class or a Schedule 1. But the fact that we are potentially fast tracking that conversation is good. The fact that we are like increasing research on this shit is good, because I think that this has a lot of potential medical, science, whatever, applications. I mean, it's dope. So I'm happy to see it. We're actually clapping it up. Rare. This seems a common sense W for the administration. There you go. I'll give them that. Once again, fair and fucking balanced, am I? Anyway, while I was getting ready to talk about this, I had remembered that I saw a story about another executive order. So I figured, hey, let's go ahead and let's just tack this on. From Reuters. Trump signs order to accelerate access to psychedelic drug treatments. U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order on Saturday intended to speed up access to medical research and treatment based on psychedelic drugs. The order instructs the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, to expedite the review of drugs such as Ibogaine, which U.S. military veteran groups have said can help treat post-traumatic stress disorder. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has championed the idea of using drugs such as Ibogaine as an alternative treatment for mental health conditions such as depression. I mean, hey, that sounds pretty cool. At an event in the Oval Office, U.S. federal officials said the reforms would pave the way for the drugs, which can use hallucinogens and are largely illegal, to be reclassified after successful clinical trials. Trump also said that the U.S. would dedicate $50 million to federal research into Ibogaine. Excuse me. Now, I don't know much about fucking Ibogaine. I'm a fucking level with you. I know fucking cock squat zero about it. But hey, cool that this is potentially getting some attention in a positive light by the government. Rare. And potentially this is going to open things up for other psychedelics, I'm hoping. Fingers crossed, knocking on fucking wood. You love to see it. These are some of the random wild card things that you get out of this Trump administration that I will say are silver lining, quote unquote. Cool. Awesome. We love to see it. We'll see where that goes. Hopefully other administrations then will see this and say, hey, let's add on to that, not take away from that part. Hopefully. But that remains to be seen. And, obviously still Tomato Town for Trump. But hey, I'm calling balls and strikes in this goddamn podcast. And you know that. And you motherfucking know that. That's it. That's all I have for today. That's all I have for this episode. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Roll call is coming up. You know what I mean? You know what that is. You know how that goes. Shout you out. Plug a thing if you like. Plug a project, if you will. Like I said, I referenced it, but I do have this long, little weird note style thing that I got going on, and you can just kind of see things. I kind of keep it up at the date, things that kind of come to my mind. It's extra thoughts, if you will. That's there. That's right. I'm paywalling my thoughts. Hey, it's a tough time. It's a tough economy here. But hey, a little book review here or there. We got a little extra blah, blah about a food thing that I forgot to mention there. I do that there. Let's see. Freeways, hit me up at zanews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Let's see. Leave a like. Leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. 5 stars on Spotify. 5 stars on Apple Podcasts are always appreciated. If you don't do any of that, that's okay. I appreciate you just listening. I appreciate you just hanging out with me. For a little bit. I try not to take too long. I try not to take out for too long. But I appreciate all the time that you spend with me, in a weird, non-parasocial way, of course. And hopefully we get to do it again soon. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I'll see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.